Boys and girls, we are beginning our traditional literature unit. And within that, we are going to be talking about folk tales. Folk tales are a kind of story that gets passed on from generation to generation. True folk tales do not have a single author. They develop as different people tell them over time. They are creations of the folk or the people. Many folk tales are very old. For generations, the tales were spoken aloud and never written down. Storytellers would just have to memorize the stories in order to keep them alive. Folk tales tell about many different parts of life. They may tell about joys and sorrows, animals and magic beings, and heroes and villains. They can be scary, funny, or exciting. Different types of folk tales may entertain or teach a lesson or try to explain things that people do not understand. Myths are similar to folk tales. They are traditional stories about a cultural's belief about life. Different cultures tell different stories. However, some similar things that you would find in folk tales are told in many different places and cultures. For example, folk tales about clever tricksters are common in Western Africa, the Americas, and other places. Trickster tales usually involve a weaker animal using its wits to get the better of a stronger one. Stories of heroes are also common in many cultures. Their heroic tales help bind a people together and help them remember their history. For example, King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table are the heroes of many of the French and English legends. We also have fables. A fable is a type of folk tale that teaches a lesson. Fables are usually entertaining tales featuring animals that talk and behave as people do. Because they have human qualities, so they act like humans, the animals show how foolish or silly and not smart or how wise people can be. For example, the Three Little Pigs teaches that hard work is important. The house built by the hardest working pig is the only one that survives the wolf's attacks. Some of the oldest fables came from India and Greece thousands of years ago. Many fables that are familiar today are said to have been written in ancient Greece by a man named Aesop. Fairy tales is another kind of folk stories about magical events and creatures. They often tell about a young person meeting fantastic beings such as fairies, witches, giants, or dragons. Stories such as Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, and Sleeping Beauty began as spoken folk tales with no one author. They were told by many people. Two German brothers called the Brothers Grimm collected and wrote down many fairy tales in the 1800s. Some modern writers, such as Hans Christian Andersen, invented their own fairy tales. These are the type of categories that are we're going to talk about in our traditional literature unit.